All right. So a lot of you watched my video, where I basically tell you how I'm being exposed to heavy metals. And I based that video off of plugging in and doing a lot of research to figure out, plugging in everything I'm eating, everything I'm being exposed to, and what is in my life that I'm using on a daily basis to figure out what could possibly be causing my high metals. Now, I want to clarify. I want to do this video to clarify some things to put them in perspective because I'm trying to be as accurate as I possibly can here. So bear with me. And by the way, you can always fact check things I'm saying, and I think you should. But anyhow, but I definitely do my homework. So here's the deal on the supplement problem. This depends highly on what supplements you get. There are supplements that you can get that specifically say they metal test. So you're safer to go with those. There are a lot of high quality supplements that I would trust more, like Thorn and Pure Encapsulations, for example, are generally very good and they do test for heavy metals. On my turmeric specifically, I just didn't think of that, and I just didn't think of that. So that caught me blindsided, and there were a couple of other supplements. Basically, Indian and Asian, like Chinese medicine type of herbs, are the ones you have to be most careful of. But there are other supplements that have other toxic things in them. So always read your supplements. Cheaper is not necessarily better at all. Usually, it's a bad indicator if it's really cheap. And you definitely want to go for the highest quality that you can. So that's one way on the supplement thing. So you don't have to be scared of supplements, but be aware of it. And it's something I was aware of, but I just didn't think, like, this is what blows my mind. No matter how much I know, I'm always learning new stuff. And I'm always finding out something that I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Okay. So supplements can be clean. You don't have to be scared of supplements. They can be cleaner. But again, absolutes are not obtainable. So I feel like even with everything I'm about to tell you, absolutes are not obtainable. Perfection is not obtainable. And detox is just something that people should incorporate in their life. We are in a toxic environment. So that was kind of the point. The other thing about vegetables. So a lot of friends reached out, either PM'd me or mentioned, well, this argues the case of going carnivore. Okay, so let me be as accurate as I possibly can with this. At the end of the day, I'll be frank, diet is really individual. It depends on your genes. It depends on your immune system. It depends on your enzyme production. It depends on your stomach acid production. It depends on your body type. It depends on your heritage. There are so many things that actually go into what is the best diet for someone. Like, I'm not allergic to strawberries. Someone else might be. So we can't blanketly say strawberries are okay or strawberries are not okay. These one size fits all for diets just don't work. But let me tell you some arguments pro and against carnivore. First, I love carnivore. Okay. I am totally pro carnivore. I did carnivore myself for months. It helped me to reduce my autoimmune and definitely lower my inflammation massively. Carnivore is probably the best diet and vital, at least short term, definitely for people who have cancer or massive autoimmune going on, because it's the ultimate elimination diet, and it's very, like, it helps you isolate what is going on and what is inflaming your system, and gets that out so your body can start healing. The problem that I had with carnivore, and this is a problem that other people will probably relate to, is my motility was a big problem. And the problem I have with carnivore personally is it doesn't account for the fact that you have a microbiome. And that microbiome produces enzymes that help you break down your food. And that microbiome, they also break down in fiber and other things, but they produce enzymes that help break down food, and they also help, they are a key part of your immune system. So if you're not feeding them, and they need fiber, soluble and insoluble, I did a whole video on this. If you're interested in getting more into detail on digestion and fiber, I have it on my YouTube channel. I have two videos on it actually. But we don't actually, we as in the human species, do not assimilate and use fiber. We don't need it in our body at all, but your microbiome do. That is how they thrive. That is how they stay healthy. And the thing is, microbiome help in other ways too. Good microbiome, good bacteria, they take up space in your gut that prevents bad bacteria from moving in. So if you don't feed them and keep them healthy, you can open the door to having bad bacteria come into your system and take over essentially. So they are very important. And carnivore, unfortunately, you start losing microbiome. And if you stay on carnivore, you might be fine. I'm not going to say yes or no, like, because everybody again is different. But if you stay on carnivore long term, you can become intolerant to other things. So they're because you lose microbiome that helps you break down things. So it can cause other problems, if you know what I'm saying. And motility is definitely a big one too. And the other thing about carnivores, us as a human species, we are actually, if you compare us to herbivores and carnivores, like strict carnivores and strict plant eaters, if you compare us, we lack the enzyme to break down uric acid. So you'll hear about this in gout, and men are more inclined than women, but gout is a problem for us because we build up too much uric acid from the breakdown of proteins, depending on our body's ability to handle these. And as a species, we are lacking this, whereas true carnivores are not, okay? At the same time, as a species, we are undeniably designed to eat plants. We have amylase enzymes in our mouth, which breaks down carbohydrates. We don't have a strong stomach to handle fiber. And like I said, we don't even use fiber. It doesn't go into our blood. It doesn't get used by our body. It gets used by our microbiome. And fiber helps with your motility. Fiber helps with bulking up and softening stools and helping them move through. Fiber helps with detox. Fiber helps with reducing and taking out cholesterol and hormones you don't need. Like, fiber is important. It actually has functions that facilitate us. So when you take fiber out of your diet, you can start having digestive problems and being irregular and having hard, very hard stools, not going to the bathroom frequently, meaning going up to 3 or more days between bowel movements. And that is, to me, a downside of carnivore. At the same time, with carnivore, it's very hard on the body to break down. You actually need more enzymes, you need more stomach acid. There's other factors that you need to be carnivore to really deal with that much meat. On top of it, when you break down protein, I know there's some people will think, well, you can eat as much protein as you want and you'll just get rid of it. Yes and no. What happens, in fact, is there's a certain point where you need lots of protein, and as we get older, we need more protein. But if you go too much above what you need, it actually is toxic for your body because breaking down protein creates a lot of ammonia and other toxic stuff. So you can actually become more acidic and more toxic and put a lot of strain on your kidneys if you eat a lot of protein. That does not mean that a healthy kidney cannot handle it and that you shouldn't do protein. If you have a problem with your kidneys, that's more significant and that's a different thing. But your body needs protein. You need to eat protein. Don't be scared of protein. However, if you go crazy on protein, it is hard on your kidneys and it does put stress on your body and it does cause a toxic effect. It makes you more acidic, which is not good for your body. So there are definitely strong arguments pro vegetables. And not all vegetables are equal. Some are very inflammatory, things with high oxalates, things with high lectins. You can look all this up. They act as immune triggers, they act as problems and inflammation in your gut, and they cause problems. But not all vegetables are. There are some vegetables that are very benign and very beneficial, like cabbage, for example. And cabbage is low in metals. So not all vegetables are high in metals and deadly. The other thing about dark leafy greens and these things, it really depends on where they're sourced. So if you have some way to get vegetables that have been sourced and tested for metal quality or quantity, then you're good. It just depends on the environment they're grown in, the soil they're grown in. It's not a matter of organic or not organic. That was the point. And for me, I'm not going to stay away from salads. I'm just not. I'm not. There's lots of benefits to salads, but right this second while I'm detoxing, I'm definitely going to back down and definitely reduce my intake. You can do other things like binders. And once I'm done with my detox and I've gotten my metals down, then I'm just going to keep it in as a regular thing to make sure that I'm not accumulating metals. That's all. Now that I know about this, now I can do something about it. Now I can control it. Now I can keep an eye on it. I'm aware of it. And it isn't just metals that we need to be scared of. Like cows and sheep and goats, they eat all kinds of stuff that we essentially then eat as well. They're eating metals, they're eating grass, they're eating the same vegetables. So to some degree, you're not going to run from it. So that's kind of the other facet to all this. So that being said, there are people in the carnivore space who are thriving and doing great on it. I would say that their bodies are more adapted to it. And just like I had a hard time with carnivore because I felt I was getting too much protein and it gave me this toxic malaise sometimes because I was eating like a lot of meat. And I have an appetite, so I have no back off on eating. But I was getting toxic because my liver and my kidneys were just overloaded and couldn't handle it. So that's a matter of improving my digestion. My enzymes were lacking, my stomach acid was lacking. So these were creating problems for me in doing a heavy, heavy, heavy meat diet as much as I loved it. But carnivore is very anti-inflammatory. I absolutely back carnivore people in the carnivore space. But I do want to make a point that that's not the only diet, and it depends on our body type. It depends on what our bodies need. It depends on how our bodies can process this stuff. And I just don't push or believe that one size fits all. There are certain things that I think are universal facts and absolutely appropriate to just say as a generalization. Stay away from seed and vegetable oils, stay away from processed foods, stay away from sugar, refined sugar, and like don't do high carbs because moderate to low carb is unquestionably better unless you are so active. If you're super, super, super active, even that might be an exception to that datum, as long as you're eating healthy, right? As long as you're getting healthy carbs. I don't think there's anyone who could argue with the fact that unhealthy carbs, high sugar, processed foods, and all that stuff is absolute junk and it's going to damage your body. But when you get down to like the arena of arguing between keto, carnivore, paleo, vegan, super vegan, raw vegan, I would say the answer to that is eat a whole foods diet and adjust it to your body. And understand food, understand what happens when you eat food, listen to your body, notice and observe if you're reacting to certain things, like be aware of it and just tweak and be interested and find out. And if you get a reaction from something, look it up and like try to do your own research and understanding of the diet you're on and what's working and what's not working for your system and why. So for example, if you can't tolerate garlic or eggs because you're having a problem, you might be sulfur. You might be having trouble breaking down sulfur. There's such thing as methylation problems. There's other factors that go into this, and I'm not trying to get geeky, but there's a lot to it, which is why, again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying be carnivore. I'm not saying don't be carnivore. I think everybody should try carnivore, but I don't think people should stay on carnivore long term unless they are thriving on it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because also when you are carnivore, you tend to not hold on to electrolytes as much because you're never spiking your insulin. Insulin gets a bad rep, but actually insulin is not a bad thing. You need insulin, but the problem is we get way too much insulin right now because the diet is so bad that people are spiking their insulin, their blood sugar, and raising their insulin constantly, chronically, routinely. The way we eat is crazy. Like we shouldn't be eating the way we're eating. We should have more of a restricted window. People should be more inclined to fasting to some degree and appropriately. Again, this is where not everybody is different either, even in the fasting realm. And I'm pro fasting 1000%. But when you're under high stress or when other factors are in place, you don't want to be fasting. You don't want to be doing long fasts because that can be very stressful on top of any stress going on. There's a lot. I'm going to do a whole video on fasting at some point, but there's a lot to be said about any of these things. So you can't make blanket, oversimplified statements on any of it. But the moral of the story and the point of my video is we need to pay attention to detox. So anything you can do to reduce or eliminate your exposure to these things is kind of a must, no matter what your diet is. And everybody should kind of find the diet that works for them and be willing to try and see what works for them. Do you know what I'm saying? We do need lots of protein. So carnivore is excellent in that way. And you really get the best type of protein from carnivore. Amino acids are critical for multiple functions in the body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I don't profess to know everything, and I don't think anyone can know everything in this area because there's just so much to it. But from the many years of research I've done on it, and from trying every single diet between raw vegan, carnivore, keto, low carb keto, healthy keto, I've tried them all. I've tried the Dr. Gundry. I've tried everything, at least most things. And the thing I find that works for me may not work for you. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the long and the short of it. Hopefully this is helpful.